of bakers under the auspices of Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria have also indicated that they will be going down tools for a matter of 4 days. This is in protest of what they describe as high cost of baking materials and diesel, and it is making their business most unprofitable. The association's president, Mr. Chinedu, I think is the name, he says that the association wants government to stop the charges of 15% which they are made to pay to NAFDAC as developmental levy for wheat production. They are supposed to pay about 154,000 penalty for late registration.
Now, tell us more about what else are you learning about the debacle, the issue of the Nigerian Bakers Association trying to go on strike, because it's going to be it's not going to be healthy for Nigerians, because on daily basis
man cannot live without bread, and sometimes when you get pushed to the wall, then you also can realize that man cannot depend on bread alone. But the fact is that bread is a common staple food for both the high and the low. And if bread goes beyond the reach of everybody, it is likely to cause a problem. But the problems are multiple in nature. You will recall that because of the war in Russia and Ukraine, all over the world, the export of wheat, which is predominantly coming from Ukraine and Russia, has been affected. So much so that the president of Senegal had to represent the African Union by visiting the president of Russia and pleading that bread should come. Already in Tunisia and some other African countries where bread is the staple part of their meal, there's already restlessness about the high cost of bread. So this is a worldwide factor. But in the case of Nigeria, they are also pointing out to the fact that high cost of diesel is making their business mostly unprofitable. You just read now in the newspaper that the national grid had collapsed twice yesterday. Some people are saying it's the 5th time in 6 months. Others are saying it's the 6th time in 7 months. In fact, I was surprised when I saw light late in the night yesterday, which means that power has come back. But earlier in the day, there was blackout everywhere. And this is, again, not far-fetched. It is coming from shortage of gas supply. So if a baker is to depend on electricity and electricity is not available, he now has to resort to diesel to run his generator. And diesel is going at 820 naira per liter. So it's becoming a vicious circle that is gradually affecting every aspect of life.
Well, that's I would pause on the threat by master bakers to go on strike for 4 days and then return to the NLC matter, which is the first that you read out in elaborate form. Let's be clear about something. Did the Nigerian Labour Congress say that it was going on strike for 2 days?
No protest.
They said, yeah, because you read that, you said they said they're going on strike. Because what they said was that they will be going on a protest. And they also followed up by saying that they didn't require any police permit to embark on that protest. And I imagine that the protest would be like a march from a designated point to another point. And obviously, without causing disruption to other business activities and to the movement of motorists. It is only when it then get out of hand that the law enforcement agents couldn't come in. But obviously, if you are having a march, if it is not just a stationary location where you are holding your protest, then you will need to get the aid of the traffic control authorities, maybe federal roads, if it's here in the Abuja, Federal Road Safety Corps or the VIO to assist, in traffic control. But if it's a protest doesn't amount to an industrial action. It doesn't amount to a strike.
So what the minister is emphasizing is that by the nature of NLC's operation, it also have contacted his Congress to reach an agreement of that, and there's nothing of that nature. And secondly, Nigerian Labour Congress is part of the committee that is trying to find a solution to the crisis, the perennial crisis of the academic staff union dispute with the federal government. And he's saying that if you are a party to finding the solution, then you cannot come and protest in support of one of the parties.
I don't know. I think that in most cases we try to complicate certain issues that can be taken on head on, without much ado. Because NLC is ASU is part of NLC under normal circumstances. It's a part of
an affiliate of Labour Congress.
Exactly. And if there is a protest does not mean anything bad. I don't know how people view protest. Protest is to show dissatisfaction over an issue. And in Nigeria, if anybody shows dissatisfaction about the issue of ASU, the person will not be mistaken. And the thing is so perennial that it's affecting every family or most families in Nigeria. So, protest for me does not make any difference. If you protest, well, after that, you go and sit down. Of course, the message has been sent. As simple as that. It doesn't require any kind of force. It doesn't require any unnecessary, action on the part of those who are going to embark on the protest.
Yeah, but it's a different case where aviation workers then say that they will also be going on strike in sympathy with ASU. That's a different consideration.
Exactly.
Because they say it means that aviation workers are threatening to down tools. It could be aviation engineers, it could be air traffic controllers, it could be any of those unions, several unions in the aviation industry that will say we are going on strike because of X, Y, Z. In that case, you have to ask yourself, look, have you kicked in all the legal requirements to enable you to go on strike that will validate your action? What grievance do you have? As I said, it's a different, because the aviation minister himself has spoken about this and says, look, in his own view, it amounts, to a security threat. And the government doesn't have any dispute with any of the ministries or agencies. They don't have any dispute with the aviation subsector. So why would aviation workers be saying they are going on strike? So I think that we have to be, and that's why I'm saying that the need for clarity. NLC saying protest, have your protest. I'm sure you cannot protest for 24 hours in a day. After a while, you get tired. And then there are people that aviation that are saying that they want to go on strike. I think that is an overreach.
And there's also another, I think, a health workers union that also contemplating going on a sympathy protest again. Well, again, there's a thin line between protest sometimes and a strike. At the end of the day, we need to be very careful so that we don't complicate the problems. And particularly that they are emphasizing that there's been a committee that has been set up, for which NLC is a part, to find a solution to the problem. So why protest over a problem that you are supposed to be a party to find a solution to? Those are the two sides of the argument.
Exactly.
From the side of the government and from the side of labor. Yes, they have a right to protest, but then the circumstances of the protest, the subject of the protest, and the role of NLC in all is very, very critical. And the minister mentioned one other thing, that we have to be very careful. NLC is not supposed to be partisan. The recent development when NLC is pandering towards a political party is again a challenge for the nation, and we need to be very, very careful.
Well, for other entities trying to show some kind of solidarity, for us, it may be an overreach, really, But again, if you know how this issue is biting, if you don't have any child or what who has been at home for the past 5 months, and not been able to go to school, and the end is not in sight, and you are a staff of maybe one of the units in the aviation industry, and all of that, so it becomes a personal thing. Like you may say, look, let us go and say, yes, I have 2 or 3 of my kids in the air. So these are natural things that occur when there is an abnormal situation. So you may not be able to even control it. So the idea is this: take care of the major problem. The fundamental issue should be addressed. I don't see a reason why this issue should last as long as it does in this country. It appears that any government that comes into power, they'll have issues with us. It doesn't mean that the problem is unsolvable. It doesn't mean that it's beyond human.
Persisted since 2009.
Exactly. It's becoming for me childish. If
there was a story you read, Kirian, about the presentation of the APC presidential candidate. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu did that yesterday at the Yaradua Center, and he emphasized categorically that the selection of Kashim Shettima, is based on his career in politics, and also it goes beyond the concern that is expressed in the area of religion. But because Shettima is eminently qualified, and he said that the essence is to deliver the important electoral victory for the party. he was also later on presented to the president. But while he was doing that, there was a protest by a group of persons to the APC headquarters protesting what they describe as the Muslim ticket. But Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State has said that there is a danger in the intrusion of religion in the political affairs in the country. And he pointed out categorically that the people should not generally emphasize the Muslim ticket too much, because it is going to cause a lot of division. He pointed out that currently, as we are, if you look at the governors setup in the country, he points out that there are more Christian governors than Muslim governors.
All right. So, all right.
No, well, I think that
let's not
we're not getting into that, because the more you dig into that, the more matters you throw up.
Yes.
I have never seen that since 1979, for instance, where the presentation of either a presidential candidate or a running mate, either of a governor or of a running mate to a governor, where you have religious clerics who are also in attendance, whether they are genuinely dressed as religious clerics or otherwise. So these are some of the things that, so the more you get it, so I think that, the separation of the church and state,
Thank you.
we do know that had enabled democracy to also grow, or if you like, separation of church, of the state and religion has enabled the state to grow. So let's focus on the key issues bothering us as a people, and then stop bringing in tomorrow. I'm sure not far from now you're going to have African traditional religious practitioners, who will come with all kinds of
that they are also neglected.
It's so difficult globally to divorce religion from politics. There's nothing you can do about it. Whether like it or not, it keeps coming. At this point, Bayo, I would like to thank you.
Thank you
for coming around. We hope to see you again tomorrow.
No. What do you mean that it's difficult to divorce religion from politics?
Let's take a short break.
That's your political side.
When we come back, we'll continue with the program. Please stay with us. This is Good Morning Nigeria on NTN Network Service.
Have your PVC ready. Conduct yourselves orderly. Join the queue. Cast your vote secretly. Thumbprint correctly. Do not waste your vote. Do not sell your vote. Secure your future. If you sell your vote, you have sold good roads, electricity, water, education, good healthcare, etc. Be part of nation building. Cast your vote for honest candidates. Shun electoral violence. You could lose your life for nothing, for nothing, for nothing. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Every morning is an opportunity to take your hustle to the next level. Every morning is one day closer to your ambition. So, make every morning count. Cup after cup, morning after morning. Start strong, finish strong. Nescafe.
Mama Peti, now wetin happen? You no chop? I no dey feel well at all. I just think malaria dey worry me. And I don tell Taylor make he meet me for here. You suppose go hospital make you go do test now. Now waste of time, Jare. I'm not fit. I beg no vex. Hope I don't waste your time. You go stand up, make I take your measurement.
Measurements. If you just look the person, you go sew the cloth where you go fit am well.
Now who they do that kind of one?
Now people wey don't conclude say dem get malaria where they never do test.
I don't hear. Sense, mama. I receive sense, so I go do am correct now. What you hey, come measure me. Make I quick go do my malaria test.
Fever na sign of plenty different disease dem, plus including malaria. When you quick do test and na malaria, dem go give you correct medicine. Stop dey waste your money on top wetin no dey worry you, and make you finish all the medicine wey dem give you patapata. Na Federal Ministry of Health and American people dem bring una this message.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
And to start our discussion on National Water Resources Bill, let's now take a special report by Oyemi Ajayi.
Water everywhere, but little or none to drink has been the paradoxical description of the situation in Nigeria. But in spite of series of policies and programs emplaced from 2015 till date to quench the thirst of about 25% of Nigerians still yearning for safe water, the demand is growing higher. Its provisions to support agriculture may have to wait a little longer, as the bill was passed by the House of Representatives and waited for concurrence of the Senate suddenly became controversial. Antagonists have tagged it a land-grabbing bill intended to deny state access among others. Suleiman Adamu has spared no words to correct the apparent wrong perceptions. It says the bill is only a harmonization of a separate act for water resources, river basins, hydrological services and water resources institutes already in existence, and to give some biting powers to the Water Resources Management Commission.
Water use regulation takes into cognizance equity in the allocation and distribution of water resources, and it is to ensure that its rapid acceleration by creating a special water fund, which will put funds and resources towards the acceleration of progress of the transitional country.
Now, it's another shot at it, as the ministry says it has taken the pain to reascertain the good intention of a bill, and then hoping the National Assembly considers it in national interest.
All right, thank you very much, Musbah Dan Wahab, for that backgrounder. We have guests with us here in the studios, and we have other guests who will also be joining us via Zoom. Let's welcome one more time the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu. Honorable Minister, glad to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Also here with us in the studios is another regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, former President of CORA, that's the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, and Chairman of the FCT Water Board, Engineer Kashim Ali. Engineer Ali, we're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, and via Zoom, we have a member of the House of Representatives. All right, he's okay. Now we have him. We're trying to establish whether the connection is right. So via Zoom, we have a member of the House of let's get a clear information on who is on the line now. Prof is on the line. Okay, and we have Professor of Environment and Law and former Vice Chancellor, Lagos State University, Professor Olarewaju Fabonhu, SAN. So good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. It's nice to be here, and good morning, Nigeria.
All right. Once we're able to get the honourable member of the House of Reps, we will introduce him, as my colleague Karen was saying a moment ago. Let's begin with the Honourable Minister of Water Resources. We had a conversation on the Water Resources Bill sometime in the past. At that time, it was controversial in terms of the comments that were raised by not just some members of the House of Reps, but also other stakeholders across the country, or in some parts of the country. Some say it was a land grab attempt, others say it was a way of reintroducing Ruga by other means. Then, of course, things went quiet. Suddenly again, the bill is back, and then again we're having all the controversies around the bill. What is the situation, and why is this so? Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you. When we introduced the bill after FEC Executive Council approval in 2016, it went through a public hearing in November 2017, and it was passed by the House of Representatives. Then it went to Senate for concurrence, and then some senators raised certain questions, most of them former governors anyway. And the Senate at that time, that's the 8th Senate, requested that a technical committee be formed to resolve those issues. Before they were resolved, we went into a 2019 election. And after the elections, of course, it was a transition, so the bill could not be passed at that time. And that was why, when the 9th Assembly came, we returned the bill to the House. At that point, of course, the antagonists were still there. And because of the rancor around it, we now decided to do further consultations. We went to speak. Most of the quarrel came from maybe some governors, and therefore we took the matter to the Governors Forum, to the Nigerian Governors Forum. We addressed the Governors Forum. The governors asked questions. We answered the questions, and they still set up a committee made up of attorneys general of the states. They reviewed the bill and sent in their comments. On the basis of those comments, we now invited experts, led by Professor Fagbo, who is on screen, to look at the bill again, because we just felt that we didn't want to be seen to be pig-headed or arrogant. So let us address these concerns. What is the problem? And he looked at it with his team, and they, reviewed everything, and then we now resubmitted it to the National Assembly. So currently, the bill is still before the House of Representatives again, and we hope that all the issues have been addressed. But you hear a lot of noise and arguments from outside, from people that sometimes I wonder what this is all about. They simply want to play politics with the bill, and this bill is something that is meant to reposition the water resource sector of the country. And I don't think it is right and in the interest of the country for them to be doing this. They should arm themselves with with a clear knowledge of what the provisions of the bill are, rather than causing hysteria in the country.
All right, Honourable Minister, there are some specifics, in this matter. There are areas, raised by members of the House of Representatives, for instance, after the bill was first passed. Some raised concerns about the fact that the bill tends to make water one of the concurrent issues in the nation's administrative structure. That is to say that everything concerning water should be under the federal government and under the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, and that now it means that the Water Resources Ministry at the federal level will now take charge of the affairs of water issues in all the states of the federation, which of course is the reason why some of the ex-governors who are in the Senate are kicking against that. What can you tell us more concerning some of these specific issues that are raised? Because there are issues that are raised. Can we get into those issues, and of course why you are in support of what has been submitted to the House for passage?
Well, I think these arguments are misplaced. Again, I said people don't seem to have an understanding of this bill. The water, when we talk about water, some people are thinking of water supply only. Water is, we are talking of water resources, the resource. We are talking about rivers, transboundary waters. That is where the federal government comes in. And this matter is settled in the Constitution. It's already there in the Constitution. The rivers that cut across states are under the custodianship of the federal government. The Constitution of Nigeria is very clear about it. Schedule 64 of the Constitution, it is there. Then the Water Resources Act, the existing legislation, the Water Resources Act 2004, vests responsibility for custodianship of the rivers, interstate waters, on the federal government. But the federal government is not legislating or taking control of Kano, for instance. Under the old Kano State administration, the Abuja administration built 22 dams. These dams are there. They're not under the purview of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. Out of the 22 dams, 3 are in Jigawa State today. So we believe about 8 or 4, maybe 18 now in Kano. All these dams, except for Tiga, Chalao Gorge, and until recently, Gari Dam, all the rest are controlled by Kano State government. Nobody has ever gone for the federal government to say that these dams belong to the federal government. And the issue of water supply, if you take water supply as an aspect, there is water supply, there is irrigation, there is hydropower. All these things are there. The issue of water supply is entirely the responsibility of states. That is why the federal government does not have a state water agency. So we are not, in fact, states have been coming to the federal government. Federal government has been investing a lot of money through interventions, spending billions of naira to provide water schemes to the states. And handing over, at any point when these projects were finished, they were always handed over back to the states. And under the water resources policy, the National Water Resources Policy, we have now resolved that federal government will intervene to a maximum of 30% for urban water schemes and 50% for rural water supply schemes. So it's support that we're providing. And we have never, at any time, at federal level, going to say that we are going to take control of how you run your affairs. But what we are saying, as a federal government, we are also the ones that subscribe to international conventions and international agreements. For instance, the Sustainable Development Goals and the UN Water Convention that we are trying to join now. And the concept of integrated water resources management that has become an international issue. All countries of the world are required to adhere when it comes to water resources management to this concept of integrated water resources management. So as a nation, federal government is answerable to its international obligations. Now, if at state level, because of our federal nature, if at state level they are not measuring up to these obligations, it's not the federal government that is going to be running. I've been saying it, for instance, it's not the federal government that is going to provide water for you in your taps. It is state government responsibility. But if they are not doing that, we are the ones that go to report to the international community about the progress we are making in SDGs. And if we are not making that progress, the federal government has a responsibility to find out what is going on and to see how it can support the states to be able to meet these obligations. And this is one of the things that this bill is trying to answer. We create a wash fund because we have realized we didn't meet the Millennium Development Goals that ended in 2015. The way things are going, we are not likely to meet the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Countries are making strides, smaller countries are making strides, but we are not. And when we realize that state governments are not investing enough to meet the obligations of providing potable water supply to the people. So what do we do? We came with so many solutions. We started with PWASH, Partnership for Expanded Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene, which we launched in 2016. We now went on to do a National WASH Action Plan, Water Sanitation and Hygiene Action Plan, which was launched by the President in November 2018, and he now declared a state of emergency on water. All this to stimulate the states. We now introduce a new budget line to support states' urban water schemes. Recently, last week, Gombe State was the first to enjoy this. Federal government is supporting the Gombe regional water supply with 30% of the requirements, about 3.something billion. So we have been doing this, and then we now created this wash fund, which we are also embedding into the water resources bill, because at the end of what we want is, instead of having a wash fund, an act for the wash fund, an act for river basins, an act for the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency, we just want to put everything under one book and say this is Nigerian water law. And every other thing that we may add on in the future, we add it on. Okay. So there is this issue about federal government trying to take control is unfounded. In fact, this bill will devolve the powers of the minister as they exist under the National Water Resources, the existing National Water Resources Act. We are whittling the powers of the minister and democratizing the concept of water resource development to the people.
Now, as a follow-up, why the new bill in the first place? Because of course there's an established, Water Resources Act that is in existence. Is it that there are lacunas or there are areas that were not taken cognizance of initially when the act was being put together, or perhaps because of the new world that we find ourselves with old technology and what have you, that you need to expand, the horizon of such acts?
Absolutely. The National Water Resources Act 2004 is a 40 year act. The concept of integrated water resources management is a new thing. Integrated water resources management says whatever you're going to do to develop your water resources, you must balance the ecosystem. There is no land degradation. You do it in a sustainable manner. And you must give citizens the right to partake in this process. So this we are missing from the law. The process, when Nigeria adopted the concept of integrated water resources, it has been a steady process. First thing was, review the laws, which started, I understand, 2006. And the first draft of this bill came out in 2008. By 2007, the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency had been pulled out of the ministry. It was formerly Hydrology and Hydrogeology Department, to be made an agency. This is the agency that gives you the annual flood outlook every year. Today is responsible for monitoring, managing, forecasting, and all things, taking data on our water resources in the country. It was pulled out. Then the Nigeria Integrated Water Resources Management Commission was formed. And this is part of the process of democratizing the process of water supply, water resource development. By creating the commission in 2007, it was formed on the basis of delegated powers of the minister, derived from the National Water Resources Act 2004. Now, that commission is still under the minister. And what this bill is trying to do is to make that commission independent, so that it does not report to the minister, it reports to the people. At the end of the day, the commission is already existing, so we're not creating anything new. It has a budget line and everything.
Who will appoint the members of the commission?
The commission will be made up of members from the 6 geopolitical zones nominated by the president to be confirmed by the Senate. The same way and manner we have reforms in the power sector. We have those reforms. So you are democratizing. And what that means is, if there's any huge water resources program or project, the commission will assess it independent of the minister and Ministry of Water Resources. They will call for town hall meetings. They have catchment management offices. They will call for town hall meetings. All stakeholders will be there. The environmental impact assessment report will be presented. The designs and everything will be presented, discussed, and a consensus reached by stakeholders before the project can move on. Okay, so that shouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, Honorable Minister, well, let's pause you in the meantime. We know that you still have a lot to say, but earlier you did indicate that Professor Olarewaju Fagbonwu, learned senior advocate of Nigeria, chaired a committee that reviewed the bill after the initial furore from stakeholders, including some members of the National Assembly. We've seen him appear on the screen. He's with us via Zoom. Professor Fagbonwu, once again, we're glad to have you with us on the program. Now, as briefly as you can summarize it, tell us the work that your committee did. What did you find in the initial, if you may, contentious bill, and what did you then recommend?
Thank you very much once again. And Honorable Minister, good morning. When the Honorable Minister constituted the team of experts, what we did was to go through, and we did a thorough review of that, of the concerns that were raised by the Governors Forum, because we wanted to appreciate their concerns. And I will say clearly that, because you asked a question earlier, that what will inform the kind of issues that are coming up. I will say that the concerns that were raised by the Governors Forum, those concerns were actually legitimate, because for reasons of infelicity of language, we found out that, oh yes, there are some things in the act, that in the bill, that easily could lead to confusion. And that was why, when we were doing our review, we were guided by three critical things. The first one there for us was the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the Honorable Minister made reference to it. We are guided strictly by item 64 of the exclusive legislative list. Part 1 of it is very clear. Water from such sources as may be declared by the National Assembly to be sources affecting more than one state. So you're talking of two different situations. You're talking of interstate waters. That is water crisscrossing state A, state B, state C, among others. And you are talking of intrastate waters. So we took cognizance of this, and this was a primary guiding thing for us in the review. Again, we took due cognizance of case law. There are quite a number of judicial decisions that we have in this country today that have espoused clearly the jurisdiction of states, the jurisdiction of the federal government. And we wanted to make sure that the bill will not conflict with any of these judicial decisions. Then a third thing that informed and guided us, international laws, particularly the Sustainable Development Goals, which the Honorable Minister also made allusions to. And I must say that the 158 provisions of that act, we ensured that all of these three things guided the way we were thinking. If I may just make a brief reference to Section 2.1 of that bill. Section 2.1 was very clear that the power of the federal government to control water resources is only in relation to interstate waters. That is water going from state A to state B to state C. And then Section 2.2 of the same bill was very clear in confirming the powers of the state government to control intrastate waters. That is water within the state. So we ensure that the entire 158 sections we went through them provision by provision. So what I suspect is that some of those who have made comments about the revised bill may perhaps not have read that bill, and might think that, oh, the old thing that was presented, which they had concerns about, is what they have just returned. That is not the case.
Okay, well, perhaps as we make progress in the program, we will be able to also explain some other aspects of the bill. Now,
Kieran, if you don't mind, I just would like, since the Zoom connection to him is still
okay, because
it's sharp, yes. But Professor Fagbo, thanks a lot for the background information that you have provided with respect to the work of your committee of experts that revised the earlier bill, and then, of course, now presented your findings to the Honorable Minister of Water Resources. But did your committee, for instance, consider the arguments that were made in the past with regard to interstate control of water resources, because some person said that it's most unlikely that you will find any river in this country that doesn't cover at least 2 or 3 states. A source of a river, it will flow. So it's difficult to have, according to them, a river, unless it's of course of no major economic value, that flows within the state, starts from a state, it starts in a state, and then its mouth is also in one state. And that therefore